Your life will never outgrow the size of your thinking. Every life grows in direct proportion to the thoughts that dominate it. Before success ever shows up in your hands, it takes root in your mind. Long before circumstances change, thinking must change. Many people try to upgrade their lives without upgrading their mindset, and they wonder why nothing truly improves. They work harder, push longer hours, and exhaust themselves, yet remain in the same place year after year, not because they lack effort, but because their thinking has placed a ceiling on what effort can produce. If you constantly think in terms of survival, your actions will only help you survive. If you think in terms of comfort, your actions will aim for safety. But when you begin to think in terms of growth, contribution, and long-term vision, your behavior naturally starts to shift. You begin to act differently, speak differently, and make decisions with the future in mind rather than the moment. Your life starts expanding the moment your thinking does. Most people don't aim low on purpose. They aim low because that's where they feel safe. Big thinking feels uncomfortable at first because it exposes the gap between where you are and where you could be. It forces you to confront your unused potential, and that can be intimidating. But comfort has never been the birthplace of growth. Everything meaningful in life exists just beyond the borders of familiar thinking. Look at how people talk about their dreams. They often shrink them before they ever give them a chance. They say things like, "I'm just being realistic," when what they really mean is, "I'm afraid of being disappointed." But realism without vision turns into limitation. When you think small, you protect yourself from failure, but you also protect yourself from success. The size of your thinking determines the questions you ask yourself. Small thinking asks, "Can I do this?" Bigger thinking asks, "How can I grow into this?" Small thinking focuses on what's missing. Bigger thinking focuses on what's possible. One keeps you stuck in comparison. The other pushes you toward progress. The moment you change the quality of your questions, you change the direction of your life. You don't have to see the entire path to think bigger. You only need the courage to believe that more is possible than what you're currently experiencing. Growth begins when you stop measuring your future by your past. Your past explains where you've been, but it does not define where you're allowed to go. Thinking bigger than your past is the first step toward building a future that looks nothing like it. Limits are learned, not inherited. No one enters this world believing they are incapable. Children dream without restraint. They imagine freely, attempt boldly, and fail without embarrassment. Limits show up later, taught quietly through repetition, criticism, comparison, and experience. Somewhere along the way, society hands you a list of rules about what's normal, what's safe, and what's too much. And if you're not careful, you accept those rules without question. Limits are often disguised as advice. People say, "Be practical, don't aim too high, or know your place," thinking they are helping you avoid pain. But in doing so, they pass down their own fears, not universal truths. Most limitations you believe in today were never tested by you. They were inherited from someone else's disappointment. The most dangerous limits are not external, they are internal. They sound like your own voice. They tell you you're too late, too inexperienced, not smart enough, or not lucky enough. And because they feel familiar, you trust them. But familiarity does not equal truth. Just because you've thought something for years doesn't mean it deserves to stay. Once you recognize that limits are learned, something powerful happens. You realize they can be unlearned. That doesn't mean instant confidence or sudden clarity. It means questioning the assumptions that quietly govern your decisions. It means asking yourself why you believe what you believe and whether that belief is serving your future or protecting your fear. Every breakthrough in human history happened because someone refused to accept the limits of their time. They didn't have more resources or better circumstances. They had a different perspective. They saw obstacles as problems to be solved rather than signals to stop. When you stop treating limits as facts and start treating them as challenges, your entire relationship with life begins to change. The moment you decide that your potential is not predetermined, you take back control of your direction. You stop living by default and start living by design. And that shift begins not with action, but with awareness, recognizing that the walls around your life may not be real and that you may have more room to grow than you ever imagined. Small thinking keeps you busy, big thinking makes you powerful. There is a difference between being active and being effective, yet most people confuse the two. They fill their days with motion, tasks, noise, and effort, but at the end of the day, nothing meaningful has changed. Small thinking keeps you occupied, not transformed. It convinces you that exhaustion is a sign of progress. Even when direction is missing, you feel productive. but you are not moving closer to anything that truly matters. Small thinking focuses on immediate tasks rather than long-term impact. It asks, what do I need to do today to get by? Instead of, what do I need to build so tomorrow is better? When your thinking is small, your goals are limited to survival. You work to pay bills, meet deadlines, and avoid problems. There is nothing wrong with responsibility, but responsibility without vision slowly drains the spirit. Big thinking changes the way you use your energy. Instead of reacting to life, you begin to design it. You stop saying yes to everything and start saying yes to what aligns with where you want to go. Big thinking understands that power comes from focus, not from overload. It recognizes that a few disciplined actions in the right direction can outweigh endless effort in the wrong one. People who think big are not necessarily working harder, they are working with intention. They ask better questions, they look for leverage, growth, and systems rather than temporary fixes. While small thinking asks how to stay busy, big thinking asks how to become valuable. And value creates influence, options, and freedom. When you think small, you trade your time for results. When you think big, you invest your time to create results that multiply. That shift in perspective turns effort into power. You stop running on a treadmill and start climbing a mountain. Each step may be difficult, but at least it leads somewhere. Big thinking gives meaning to discipline because it connects today's sacrifice to tomorrow's vision. Power doesn't come from doing more. It comes from doing what matters most. And that awareness only comes when you allow your thinking to rise above the noise of daily survival and focus on the bigger picture of who you are becoming. Fear shrinks when purpose grows. Fear is not the enemy people believe it to be. Fear is a signal. It appears whenever you stand at the edge of growth. The problem is not fear itself, but allowing fear to make decisions for your life. When your purpose is unclear, fear feels overwhelming. It fills the empty space where direction should be. But when purpose becomes strong, fear loses its authority. Most fear is rooted in uncertainty. You're afraid because you don't know how things will turn out. You're afraid of failing, being judged, or discovering that you are not as capable as you hoped. But uncertainty is not a stop sign. It is the entrance to expansion. The people who grow are not fearless, they are purpose-driven. When your reason for moving forward is weak, fear sounds loud. Every obstacle feels personal. Every setback feels like confirmation that you should stop. But when your reason is strong, fear becomes background noise. You still hear it, but it no longer controls you. Purpose gives you something to move toward, and movement weakens fear. Think about the moments in your life when you did something difficult despite being afraid. You didn't wait for confidence. You acted because something mattered more than your comfort. That is the power of purpose. It shifts your focus away from what might go wrong and anchors it to what must go right. Fear asks, purpose asks, what if I don't try? Fear focuses on loss. Purpose focuses on meaning. The more you connect your actions to a deeper reason, growth, contribution, legacy, the less room fear has to dominate your thinking. Purpose doesn't eliminate fear overnight. It gradually shrinks it by giving you direction. Each step forward proves that fear is survivable. Each small victory weakens its grip. Over time, what once felt paralyzing becomes manageable, and what once felt impossible becomes familiar. Fear loses power when it is no longer the center of your attention, and purpose takes its place. You must decide who you're becoming before you become them. Life has a quiet way of shaping people who refuse to shape themselves. If you don't make a conscious decision about who you are becoming, your environment will decide for you. Your habits, your circle, your routines, and even your excuses will slowly carve out an identity you never intentionally chose. Most people wake up one day surprised by the life they're living, not realizing they voted for it daily through indecision. Becoming someone greater does not start with achievement, it starts with identity. Long before you earn more, lead more, or create more, you must see yourself as the kind of person who does those things. Every meaningful change begins internally. The way you see yourself determines the standards you accept, and the standards you accept determine the direction of your life. Deciding who you're becoming requires honesty. It asks you to look at your current habits and ask whether they match the future you claim to want. It forces you to recognize that motivation is temporary, but identity is permanent. When action is connected to identity, discipline becomes natural. You don't struggle to do what aligns with who you believe you are. This decision is rarely dramatic. It often happens quietly in moments when no one is watching. It's the choice to prepare when it would be easier to procrastinate, to improve when it would be easier to complain, and to grow when it would be easier to stay the same. Each small decision reinforces the person you are becoming. You don't need permission to decide this. You don't need perfect timing, more confidence, or external approval. You only need clarity. The moment you decide, your behavior begins to follow. You start asking different questions, making different choices, and surrounding yourself with influences that reflect your future rather than your past. Identity gives direction to effort and meaning to struggle. Think bigger than today and act bigger than yesterday. Big thinking without action is fantasy, and action without big thinking is frustration. Real growth happens when vision and discipline work together. Thinking bigger than today means refusing to let current circumstances define the size of your future. Acting bigger than yesterday means proving that belief through consistent behavior, not dramatic promises. You don't change your life in one decision, you change it through daily upgrades. Slightly better habits, slightly higher standards, slightly more courage than the day before. These small actions may feel insignificant in the moment, but compounded over time, they become unstoppable momentum. Progress is not about intensity, it's about consistency. Thinking bigger expands your perspective. Acting bigger builds your character. One gives you direction, the other gives you strength. When you commit to both, growth becomes inevitable. You stop waiting for inspiration and start becoming the kind of person who inspires themselves through action. There will be days when doubt returns, when fear whispers, and when comfort tries to pull you back. Those moments are not failures, they are tests. Tests of whether your thinking has truly changed or if it was just a temporary feeling. Each time you choose action over excuse, you reinforce the belief that you are capable of more. Eventually something shifts. The limits that once felt permanent begin to dissolve. What once seemed impossible becomes manageable. And what once required courage becomes habit. Not because life got easier, but because you got stronger. So raise the standard of your thinking. Refuse to live inside borrowed limits. Decide who you are becoming, then support that decision with daily action. Think bigger than today's fear, today's doubt, and today's comfort. Act bigger than yesterday's effort. Because the life you want is not waiting for more time, more luck, or better conditions. It is waiting for a bigger version of you to step forward and claim it.